Hey everybody, welcome to Attempts at Governance. This is episode 252, and we're back here in Toronto getting some decks built on top of the apartment today. So if there's a little bit of noise, you'll forgive me. But we're missing some people down bad with bird flu. I want to thank everybody who came anyway. No, not bird flu, nerd flu. Want to thank everybody who came anyway. And I think it's going to be a great show. Lots of new proposals to discuss. And we're going to get to those in just a few minutes. But we're going to start with the state of the Treasury, which is looking very nice this week. We're down 290,000 DOT, which is worth about $1.2 million at today's market value. That brings us to 22.7 million DOT across all bounties and treasuries. Then we are up 420,000 USDT, nice, to 2.71 million. And we're down 300,000 USDC to 4.2 million. That's the state of the Treasury. We're missing Limo with Nerd Flu. Funky's out, very busy man. But Maybe Angie, if I could put you on the spot here, I'd love to get an update from you because there was this epic picture of you and John Linden and Ed Hess and other great people. Did you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, sure. So yeah, great. I've been meaning to call you to catch up with you about it. It was a really great dinner. We were at Christie's Art and Tech
Oh,
Conference,
no, Angie, this is
which
very
is
unfortunate, but you're
one of the best innovation conferences out there. And
Angie, we're losing you. The connection is unfortunately terrible. Maybe we can come back if you're in a different spot in the future. So sorry.
oh no,
Y-
breaking up.
Yeah, breaking up bad. Okay, Angie, let me know when you're maybe in a
Is
different
that better? Is
y-
that better or not?
not really.
Okay,
Let me know when you're
okay.
in a different situation and we'll come back to it. I'm so sorry. I think we'll get this internet thing figured out soon enough. Okay, people still rolling in. Okay, so we're going to move on to, well, some discussion starting with James. You just had a small
Hello.
tipper that just didn't quite make it. This was for the 6-month renewal of the Alan B. Levon NSU Browen Center of Innovation membership. This ended up coming through with 31.6% in favor, this small tipper. Just $2,400. But I think you're going to come back around. You wanted to say something quick about this today.
I am, and it won't take too much time, but I am going to resubmit. It just was rejected yesterday, so I haven't had a chance to resubmit, but I will try to get that in today. Because it is only $2,400, it's a small tipper track. It only takes 7 days.
Yeah.
And Kuz was an I, Hungarian was an I, Trustless did not have an opportunity to vote on it. And I believe Polka World and Permanence were revisiting their initial nays. I'm trying to address any concerns that they may have, but for me, this seems like a fairly straightforward request. It's a really modest request for something that is a pretty core component for our regional play down here in South Florida. And it's just continuing of the membership at this facility. And just briefly, it's a public-private partnership between Broward County and Nova Southern University. But beyond that, it's really the tech hub of a tri-county play down here. So it encompasses Miami, Miami-Dade County, Broward, and West Palm, Palm County. And so we really have a chance to reach a lot of people, and it's a really, really vibrant center. There's tons of people there every single week. I am there every single week. There was some miscommunication with the DBs. They thought it wasn't a used space, but it absolutely is. I don't do paid meetups there because they're a little cost prohibitive, but there's a lot of complimentary space that we're trying to take advantage of. And that's just if you read the proposal, there's a lot of really good opportunities there. So I'm hoping that the second attempt will go through. If anybody has questions or concerns, absolutely come to me. I know Chaos DAO was against it, hadn't had an opportunity for any meaningful discussions of what their concerns were, but if anybody wants to discuss it further, absolutely hit me up. But everything that we're doing around here with University of Miami and Inter Miami and all the people that we talk to, this is a relatively inexpensive way to help tie that all together. So look for that to drop later today, and hopefully we'll get your support.
Okay, just need a little bit more time to talk through it, but looks like a great initiative and not too much risk on the DAO here. Thanks very much, James. Quick, if you missed it, Decentralized Voices Cohort 5 applications are open right now. We discussed it on the Monday show, but the basic changes to this program compared to the last is there are going to be it's going to be a greatly reduced power for all of the groups that get selected. So it's going to go down from 6 million voting power down to 2 million voting power. So reducing that power, that was something a lot of people were asking for, including myself. Also, there's going to be more groups, up to 10, possibly up to 10 groups who get this 2 million voting power. In addition, they're introducing something called DV Light Guardians. So these are individuals with domain-specific knowledge who are mandated only to vote on proposals within their domain of expertise. And they have, I don't remember how much dot power it is, but it's greatly reduced as well. Independent researchers and voters to direct specific domain votes. And then finally, there's going to be some stronger rules around voting in multiple DAOs. So if you're voting for one DV group, you're not allowed to be voting in another DV group. And they're going to try to achieve this by getting member lists for the groups that are obscured and private. But yeah, those are open today. Okay, one more thing to touch on before we get to the to the new things to talk about today. And this is just a quick update on dot RFP number 1. This is the $7,000 for researching the capped supply and stepped inflation. This has been a very exciting experiment. We now have 67 members in the Telegram group, some more helpful than others, I have to say. But those who are very helpful have been really shining a lot of interesting light. You can see it all in this public sheet right here. A lot of the research. Consider this like a scratch sheet. We're gonna roll it all into a nice presentation by next Thursday. But here on row 55, this is for question number 15, we do have quite a few proposals for what different models may look like, and we've given them all funny names. So this one is called Lackey's Pie Banana Cream Edition. And this is an interesting one where it is an inflation step down every 2 years, and the step down is 13.14% from the previous period. And it looks something like this. The green line is the current inflation. The red line is where inflation would go, with this new inflation curve, which is the blue step. So that's what that looks like there. What's another interesting one I can show you? Another interesting one I can show you is what does a halvening look like? That would be Dot Sama's halving boom, we called it. Don't worry, we'll make this all clear when we actually get there. Dot Sama's halving boom is right here. This is kind of interesting. So you can see a much more severe step down because we're cutting inflation in half every time. An interesting thing about halving inflation is that we never really get to 2 billion total supply. So this is a very aggressive inflation reduction. It does not leave a lot of room for us to make the network valuable in producing revenue. But something that we started looking at was the market cap needed to sustain the current expenses. So if we say the current expenses are 450,000, this is the market cap in column G here that we would need to reach in order for the value of that newly created dot to cover the expenses of the network. So these are pretty big numbers. So we're talking about market cap of almost 2 billion by 2040, for instance. But then Gav also introduced this reduced expenses, this 90 million idea, and that's a little bit more attainable here. If we reduce expenses to 90 million, then the market cap we need to maintain is a lot easier here. So we're talking about the market cap of Cardano we need to achieve by 2032. Maybe that's a little bit more approachable, but lots of trade-offs depending on what we want to do here. This is just a little taste of what it's looking like. We also created this tool. Well, Crane is working on this tool. Sorry to show it off, Crane, so early. This is literally draft 1 he sent me this morning, but I just want to show you can change the step here with this little doodad, and you can change the length of the inflation period here with this little doodad. And you can also introduce, this blue line will show you what market cap we need to have to sustain expenses. It's pretty cool. Something you can look at to play around with. But yeah, we'll have more information on that next week. And if you want to hop in, I will leave the link to the chat in the comments on YouTube. Oh, before I go, any questions about this or any thoughts? Oh, good. Then we're going to roll right into the first presentation today, which is Ref 1679. We have Zoe and crew on the show to talk about Clarys.AI beta product development. This is, what is it? How much is it? We got to go and find out. This is 256,000 USDC for the continuation of the development of this platform, which started under the Decentralized Futures program. Now it's come to Treasury. I'm going to put 8 minutes on the clock for you, Zoe. Welcome back to the show, and the floor is yours.
Thank you so much. And hello, everyone. Great to be back here. I am going to share a quick presentation, but want to focus definitely on a product MVP demo that a lot of community members have requested, which is great. But for everyone who have not heard about Clarys.Ai, it's an AI-driven platform to optimize treasury management and DAO processes, and specifically built via a decentralized futures grant in MVP form for OpenGov and the Polkadot ecosystem. A lot of people also have a question or ask about the team behind Clarys. It's because it's a new product name. And I want to clarify this here again. We have specialized AI engineers with a lot of Web2 AI experience, but also the merge to Web3, which is very special skill. And I myself, I'm the founder of Clarys.Ai, and I have a long-standing history in Polkadot since 2019 with different activities. But one activity which was the founding part and being a curator of one of the first on-chain bounties, which is Bounty 17, actually inspired the product idea of Clarys.Ai. And this was because several years ago, I just had to experience myself how much effort we actually need to do as bounty curators, often not as a full-time job, but as a side job. Now we have DVs and we have DAO members. We have a lot of proposal review. And it was just not really easy to handle with a lot of manual effort. And this was an inspiration for me to actually take a step back and dive deep and say, okay, I want to come back with an actual technical solution to optimize process flows and governance review in OpenGov. So there is credibility. And also, of course, this is built from the community for the community with the experts behind. And this is just an overview, and most of you guys know what challenges we have in OpenGov. What I want to point out, often it's time intense, manual, and often also inefficient because we unfortunately overspend because we have several funding structures such as bounty and treasuries. So for DVs and also bounty curators, it's a lot of manual effort. The benefits that I will show now in the demo also really focus on automation, right? AI is here to actually make things more effective, more productive, and to increase productivity. But in the end, also save money and time and money for the treasury, so people can focus on more work, different work, and we have more money to spend for cool things to do. And I will switch quickly now into the product. So some of you guys have seen it before that it's currently closed because we need to manage also the costs in the back end. We are still waiting for optimization. That's why I'm really happy to give also more in detailed one-on-one product demos if the time here today is not enough. But what you can see here, and I have preloaded some tabs because it loads a bit just to save enough time for us. And what we see here are different workflows that we pre-designed for people for the user itself. So we have, for example, an accountability check on proposals or a comparison of proposals, and also an overview of different categories because events are sent off-chain or submitted off-chain, but sometimes also still to treasury. So this is all working, but as I mentioned, it's a bit slow for right now for the demo. So I preloaded this. And if I asked with a prompt proposal accountability check, it asked me for an ID or for a specific name. I just had something here for the Talisman wallet and retroactive. It's an older proposal. But what you can see here, it's pretty cool that the AI is actually trained on, and thanks to Tommy, the accountability checklist that we have also published on opengov.watch. So we asked the AI to go into the proposal and answer questions that we need to ask ourselves anyway as when we review a proposal. So you get all of this information summarized here. We also can directly see the proposal itself, all in a very pretty smooth user interface, just with prompts can be actually used. And you can ask much more information. When is the project successful? It gives you some KPIs and so on. The other workflow that we had is comparing proposals, which is pretty cool for bounty curators and also to avoid overspending or save money because we need, or again, also to save manual effort to compare proposals. Here we asked, are there similar proposals to a hackathon or to this one? Because someone submitted something. And then the AI lists actually 2 other hackathons that are also being submitted. And then I asked, okay, please compare this hackathon with this one. And it gives you an overview where about the objective, the timeline for both of these proposals, and it gives you a comparison summary, and also says here, for example, it's a bit challenging, but this other proposal is more cost effective. Again, in beta, we want to optimize, of course, a lot of the AI output and make it much more precise. And again, you get the information. And the last workflow, and we will add many more, is actually the categories, which is cool because here we prove that we implement not only treasury data, but also bounty off-chain data. Because I asked Clarys, please show me proposals from category events. And we have the meetups bounty as well as the events bounty, where you all know all the submissions are on a separated website. So it actually lists me all the events, or let's say only 10 or 7 from the year 2025. And you also see meetups as well as events, and maybe also something that has been submitted to Treasury, right? It's the combination of on-chain and off-chain information. Also here, for example, from James, because he's in the call, this proposal again, and you also see it, that it's actually submitted on the website here itself. So yeah, overall a consolidation and like actually the user interface to make all of this work much easier. And of course, we have to sell this a little bit, but I want to actually really show you guys the product and how it's usable, but also give you some numbers. This is a rough estimation. Please don't pinpoint me on this, but I will definitely dig deeper into this. But I can proudly say that it's a 300% productivity increase. If we simply say someone works 8 hours as a curator, we can cut this time for comparison and so on to 2 hours per week, right? Which is simply 300% an increase. I just calculated a little bit how many people we have as curators, how many DAO members and DVs we have, multiplied this by 8 hours per week. And I know that many people work much more on these activities. So we have a lot of work hours that we can, again, cut by these 80%. We have an increase in efficiency and a big increase, like saving of manual labor work, right? This is only the time that we can save you to actually put your time into other projects, but not actually the money that we can save also when we compare proposals and avoid double dipping. This is something that we still need to analyze. I stop here. I leave this in the background. This is an FAQ. Some people had these open questions and happy to take on some questions.
Thank you very much. Okay, let's open it up to some questions here. Yep, let's go, James.
Not a question, just a comment, Zoe. Lou Kerner, who runs Crypto Mondays and the Decentralized AI Agent Alliance, reached out to me this morning. Somehow Clarys landed on his radar and he would like to talk to you further. So check your TG and circle back with him. Thanks. And I'm excited about Clarys.
Okay, we're pretty much at time, but let's hear quickly from Angie. Quick question, quick answer.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. How does it help curators save time other than the comparison to others? Is that the main benefit?
Yeah, I think I understood how to save time with it, right? So the one part is, I mean, we want to build many more workflows to automate, but the one that I use as a curator is to check, is a proposal actually accountable? Does it have all the things? When it's successful, KPIs, who is the team, right? But what you do when you just give a proposal, and this is done by the AI, so actually to review and then to compare. So these 2 workloads are the ones that we save time with now. And we can have many more workloads that I'm also happy to hear from DVs or what you guys do in different DAOs. But these are the ones that I was exposed and that we had time to implement in an MVP.
Okay, we're actually at time here, but we are going to want to hear from you again, Zoe. Right now, it's pretty heavy nays. Polkaworld on the nay side, Trustless Core on the nay side. And looks like Koos DAO is on the nay side and maybe Chaos DAO as well at this time. But we'll have to see what they come up with. But yeah, we'd love to have you back and discuss more about some of the dissent you're hearing and then some arguments against. I think that could be really impactful.
Perfect. Happy to come back. And again, reach out to me if you want more time on the product with myself.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, always nice to have you on. Thanks, Zoe. We're going to move on now to Ref 1672, 352.8 thousand USDC. for Polkadot Africa Builder and Community Growth, West and East Africa regions. This is doing pretty well, actually, almost halfway through the decision period, with 62.7% in favor. We have Kus.Delegate and Poker World on the I side, Trustless Core on the nay side, with Red DAO, and it looks like we have some abstains as well. Becca, Kratistos, who else do we have on here?
I think we have Becca and Kratistos here.
Welcome, guys. We have 8 minutes on the clock. The floor is yours. Go ahead.
Great, thank you. So I'm just going to do a quick presentation on why this proposal is important. So you guys just stay with me just 5 minutes with this.
Go ahead.
Okay, so I'm going to share my screen.
Yep, we see it.
Great. Great. Stronger together. How regional communities can actually drive Polkadot forward. Now, what do we mean by regional communities, right? So far now, we now have different regions now working together to actually do some different missions. We have DevRel, we have hackathons, we have marketing, we have different parts of things, right? So why this talk? Oh, can everyone see my screen currently,
Yes,
by the way?
we can.
Okay, let me just, I think it's the wrong one.
Okay, it was a Canva.
Yeah. Let me just share something else. Share my whole screen. Okay. Yes, this is it. Yes. So why this talk? Fragmented efforts actually limit impact, but shared missions and can have isolated executions. What does this mean? When you have just one-time events in different countries without consistency or maintenance, right? Or probably after event engagement, this actually limits impact. But then when you have a shared mission, and then you now have teams that are dedicated to this mission, they can actually have isolated executions in each regions. So for instance, you can have Polkadot, Open Guild doing stuff in East Asia. You can also have Poker World doing stuff in China. You can have one block also doing stuff in the APAC, some parts of the APAC region. And then you can have Polkadot Africa doing stuff in selected parts in Africa. This is what it's called. They're all having shared missions, but then their executions are isolated by region. Now, collaboration isn't optional at this point. It's now essential because these teams actually have to work with Meetups Bounty. You can see that Open Guild now has a collaboration with Meetups Bounty. They do these builder meetups that is just 150 USD, and it's in collaboration with the Meetups Bounty. You have Events Bounty, all these different teams working with Event Bounty, because now they have realized that collaboration is actually essential. And this is something that Polkadot Africa has also realized, and now we have picked this up. So regional hubs are now emerging as key players in driving Polkadot's vision forward, in aligning efforts towards a common goal that benefits all, right? By fostering collaborations among these hubs, we can actually create an amplified approach and a unified approach. For instance, we have some rumors about a launch party. I'm not going to mention the current name, and there is a unified approach towards this, which makes sense. And because of all these regional hubs, it's actually quite easier to drive impact towards common goals in different parts of these landscapes. Now, the challenges of isolation in communities is that right now, that's what I'm seeing so far, is that we have redundant programs that lead to wasted resources. There's confusion among community members, which hinders like progress and unity. We do have some inconsistent messaging, and which creates misalignment amongst stakeholders, which makes it difficult to establish trust and collaborate with people effectively. Also, this leads to burnouts and underperformance. And then the ones who are actually doing very well don't even share their playbooks, which is also a problem. And but something I've seen is now these new emerging hubs are now sharing. We now have Twitter Spaces, and there is also some sort of um, contribution in terms of when we talk about what exactly is our mission. So there is now some. It's little by little, but then it's a good thing. Now, what does collaboration look like? Shared success. What does it look like? You have shared calendars and campaigns. You have different regions co-hosting events. Like for instance, Poker World can co-host with the One Block, or One Block can also co-host with Open Guild, a hackathon. And of course, Polkadot Africa and Open Guild can, of course, co-host events, boot camps, online boot camps. We even share resources. Actually, some of our resources on our website come from Open Guild, and we always pipeline developers across borders. Like some of our developers actually participated in Open Guild's hackathon during the Encode scalable hackathon. So some of our developers actually won bounties on Open Guild's bounty on the hackathon. Now, this is what collaboration looks like. This is how we actually achieve a global standard and a global presence, because now we are now touching different regions, but then the execution is still isolated, but then we are still touching these different regions. So for instance, Paper Moon doesn't necessarily need to come into Africa to actually do stuff, right? They can just send in resources, and then these resources can be put out and then have a kind of a roadmap or an execution process where we actually infiltrate developer community with these resources through hackathons, online bootcamps, different types of things, right? So let's look at an example of joint initiatives, just case examples. We have marketing bounty. We can have marketing bounty for branding and content awareness of an update in a protocol or a product. And then we can have meetups bounty or event bounty doing the funding the actual events or the meetups. And then you can now have different regions, that is Polkadot Africa, Open Guild, LATAM communities driving awareness through DevRel initiatives, through BD initiatives, through different initiatives. And then of course you have OpenGov Tracker that actually tracks these milestones and deliverables. Now this is an example of joint initiatives to actually achieve a common goal with having like a shared mission. Tracking our progress is always essential. Key metrics always helps everyone understand growth, success within regional communities. And with shared metrics, we can always celebrate accomplishments, such as the number of developers are onboarded globally, launched projects, products that are actually having use cases, shared wins, basically. Yeah. So effective collaboration hinges on strong coordination tools, a foundation of like mutual respect, right? And this by prioritizing these elements, communities, sorry.
Yeah, we're actually just at time here, Becca. It's the slot's come to a conclusion there, but I'm kind of liking the vision that you're putting forth here, tying together a lot of projects with momentum. I think it'd be really nice to have you come back on again and dive a little bit deeper into this, especially looking at the breakdown of the costs and everything. I think that could be pretty useful.
Yeah, so let me just quickly go into that.
Well, I'm sorry, we're pretty hard on the time slots, just so we can get through the whole show. But I think it was a really great start, and you're very welcome to come back on again.
Yeah, great, thank you.
Okay, thanks very much. All right, pretty good, pretty good. We're gonna move on now to, hey, we have Ryan on the show from Subwallet. Ryan, Big Ryan. No, okay. We were going to speak about Subwallet development from August 2024 to March 2025. So this is a retroactive $1.07 million USDC proposal. But I guess we'll have to take a look at that another time. We'll check in what happened there. But this brings us to another big infrastructure project. This is the redux of Snowbridge 2025 and 2026, Ref 1682. This just launched, I guess, looks like an hour ago or so. But we have the Snowbridge folks back on the show. This is for a total of 832,507 dot. Aiden, welcome back to the show. What's going on?
Hey, everyone. So yeah, maybe just for a bit of context for those who are not aware, we put a big proposal out for Snowbridge's funding for a lot of the work that we've done over the last year or two, as well as for future runway. And we put this out about a month and a half ago, and that proposal failed due to the cost and transparency and a bunch of other reasons. But we've been doing a lot of due diligence across different DAOs and stakeholders and gathering feedback from everyone. And so now we've put together a new proposal that we just posted about an hour ago that we think addresses a lot of the feedback that we had in our last proposal and kind of sets up a more streamlined path forward for our team and for kind of Snowbridge's place in the Polkadot ecosystem. So I'll do a quick overview of kind of our new proposal and what's changed, and then have some time for kind of feedback and questions. So I can share the proposal. I'll share my screen for those that haven't had a chance to look at it, which is probably no one because we just posted it. And so quick overview about Snowbridge. We've been running now live for over a year. We've had no on-chain issues, no downtime, and have built up integrations with a large part of the Polkadot ecosystem. You can see 24 different parachains, wallets, and apps in this image that we're all integrated with now. We've also grown to over 75 mil TVL. I think when we last spoke about a month and a half ago, we were at 60 mil, so we've already had an additional 15 million in growth of TVL over the last month since our fair proposal, and we expect that to continue growing. There's still a lot of new assets and integrations that are coming online in the next few months, and so those will unlock new growth and opportunities for Polkadot ecosystem. And really, I think we're confident to say that Snowbridge is now a key piece of infrastructure for most of the top products in the Polkadot ecosystem. That includes Hydration, Asset Hub, and Mythical. So the one major change that we've made from our last proposal is the roadmap's a lot more streamlined. It covers deliverables that are directly tied to what kind of parachains and customers have asked for, and that will unlock better UX, faster bridging, lower fees for the users, and bring in new liquidity, as well as Snowbridge V2, which is a new update, like an overhaul to the system that allows for a lot more kind of seamless UX and a lot of kind of new improvements to our arbitrary messaging and smart contract support, as well as a bit of marketing and growth efforts for kind of consumer targeting and funding for us to continue to operate and secure the bridge for the next year. We, compared to our last proposal, we completely removed the contentious incentive funding. When we started this project a few years ago, we set up a plan for long-term incentives, and there was a lot of contention around those long-term incentives in our last proposal. So we've completely removed that and just replaced it with a kind of traditional roadmap funding, where we've got our roadmap, our kind of breakdown of costs for the year. And we've also added a lot more transparency to the cost for that roadmap, which I can go over later in the doc. And so the cost for kind of our roadmap for the proposal is 1.87 mil. The proposal does also include a 300K failed payment for a past failed transaction, as well as a 937.5K retroactive payment for past completed milestones that I think were less contentious than our incentive funding, and that we also completed about a year ago, and that those payments are still remaining. And so that brings the total cost of this proposal to 3.1 mil. The payment is split into an advance payment as well as a payment upon completion, because we still wanted to leave like an incentive for our team to complete and successfully deliver all the milestones. We did post this proposal in docs entirely. We have had some feedback already in the last hour or two around that, and so that's something we're also looking for further feedback from OpenGov on. I think our team is flexible here. If there's wide consensus that we shouldn't have done it in DOT and that we should change it to be in USDC or split between DOT and USDC, then that's an easy thing for us to do, and I'll change it today after OpenGov's AAG's calls gone live. So if anyone has kind of concrete feedback around that, we'd love to hear that. Other than that, I can go through our roadmap. It's kind of mostly similar to what you would have seen in our last proposal, but I can double click on any of these items if there's interest to discuss them from OpenGov. And then if we look at our cost breakdown, so our runway cost breakdown is for the 5-person team, which includes 3 top-level engineers, a staff-level engineer and architect, and myself as the team lead. The average cost here is $100 an hour upfront, and then assuming we successfully deliver the project and all of this roadmap and all of the features we've committed to over the next year, there's a $30 per hour additional amount that will unlock to the team in 1 year from now. And so that is included in this proposal. The expectation is that if whatever reason OpenGov is not happy with our delivery over the next 12 months, then next in 11 months we can cancel that extra payment, which is effectively around $30 per hour. There's a small commission for company margin. There's a small bucket for travel expenses. There's a $75K bucket for costs like HR, payroll, legal, accounting, recruiter, and other administrative expenses. And there's about $140K costs for company tooling, software developer tools, and development and testing infrastructure. There's also what we said in our last proposal is that there were remaining costs from our previous funding for covering audits, the bug bounty, and infrastructure, production infrastructure costs. We haven't asked for any more funding for any of that stuff because that, as we said in our last proposal, that funding still remains, and that should be enough to cover us for the next year on those kinds of costs. And here's kind of a image of the whole funding breakdown overall. And yeah, that's about it. So I'll kind of stop there to open up for questions.
Great. Thanks very much. 3 minutes remaining. Let's open it up for questions here. Anybody have a comment or question or concern about this one? Yep, Florentina.
Yes, Aidan, thank you for explaining the proposal. It's a bit hard to follow everything without having read it first, but I was wondering if inside this proposal you have a comparison of the changes between the previous proposal and this one to make it easier to see the evolution.
We haven't got a concrete comparison. I can definitely post that as a comment later today. But the main comparison is our previous proposal was about 5 mil that included around 3 mil worth of incentive funding. That 3 mil incentive funding has been replaced and completely removed. And instead, we've got about 1.7 mil incentive funding. The total difference for this proposal overall is about 1.9 mil. I think it's 1.7 to 1.9 mil lower than our last proposal.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I got the numbers difference, but I meant more like the actual differences in the details. But thank you so much for that.
Spectra.
Yeah, this question is actually for Zoe. So could Clarys make a comparison between this and the previous proposal of the same?
Exactly.
From the
I mean,
same...
yes, if both are somewhere, right, like on chain or submitted to a bounty or wherever we save them, and yes, that's great. Definitely.
Yeah, they're both fully posted. I'd also be curious to see the.
Or even if it's only submitted as a discussion, right? Because we also do discussion and also forum posts, and we also want to integrate these AAG calls here. There's a lot of valuable content, right? So yeah. Thanks, Spectra.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Yeah, Robert.
Yeah, thanks for the nice presentation. For my books on the question of like if it's USDC or DOT, I would say it's whatever is better for the team. And my reason for that, like why I think like a DOT request would be fine too, is because it's the success of Polkadot's interoperability and Polkadot itself are like very coupled. So I think it makes sense to give that kind of long-term incentive. If you but reposting with like USDC, I think is also fine if it gives the team more stability.
Any other thoughts on the submission asset? Aiden specifically wanted opinions on that.
And maybe one way to frame that is also related to kind of overall DOT treasury management. I know there's been this ongoing transfer, or rather trade of portion of DOT into USDC and USDT running monthly over the last year, or maybe it's 2 years now, with the intention to balance out the treasury. And so it'd be interesting to hear just from a treasury standpoint. Obviously, our proposal is quite large and will have a small impact on the asset balance in the treasury. And so if anyone has strong opinions on like that balance, that's also something we could take into consideration.
All right, we're at time. Yeah, if you do go stablecoins, it's going to have to be chopped up into payments, maybe monthly payments or something like that, so it doesn't impact too greatly. But big DOT payments for a future date, oof, it's a lot of risk on treasury, is my opinion. But opinions do vary, so we got both on this one. All right, thanks very much, Aiden. We'll see how this goes next week. Like you said, just an hour into it, so a lot more data to collect, and we'll check in next week. Thanks a lot. Moving on now to 1681, a small spender of 35,700 USDT very early days here. Just one vote. Let me refresh the page here. Just one vote of one dot so far. Enjoying 100% support. We have Vincent back on the Coos. Nice to see you here, Vincent. We also have Max down there. Guys, what's going on with this small spender? I'll put 8 minutes on the clock for you.
Cool. Thank you. Appreciate it. I'll go first and then hand it over to Vincent. So this is a proposal coming out of Polkadot East, which is the growth and IR initiative that Vincent, Thibault, and myself are doing as part of the Centralized Futures program for Hong Kong, growing and promoting Hong Kong Polkadot adoption in Hong Kong. And Vincent will say a few more things about the actual content of the proposal, but I'll say one word about like the structure, which is with the PCF. So in that sense, it's a bit unique because the Hong Kong government, that is the counterparty here, would like to sign a cooperation agreement with Polkadot with an official entity of Polkadot. Polkadot East is obviously a private company owned by Vincent, Thibault, and myself, so it's not an ideal candidate. Whereas like the Polkadot Community Foundation is a very good candidate because it actually represents the DAO. And so we decided that would be the right counterparty here. We spoke with them, they're able to do this, they're able to sign this agreement. And this particular ref, I also want to emphasize is that these like $35,700 would go exclusively to the PCF for legal work and company setup. So it does not include any operational expenses. We're not expecting to have any operational expenses because that's already covered anyways. So the money that we're requesting here is purely for the PCF and purely for legal and incorporation fees. So with that out of the way, let me pass it over to Vincent.
Thank you, Max. Yeah, as Max mentioned, the entire cost is basically the cost of setting this entity up in Hong Kong. We've been, as Max mentioned, we've been funded by the Web3 Foundation, and we're basically pushing IR and growth in Hong Kong region. We've also managed a bunch of these larger events like Consensus and Web3 Festival in Hong Kong as well. We also help organize that. So back to what Max was talking about Oasis. So Oasis stands for Office for Attracting Strategic Enterprises. It's a department that's directly under the Financial Secretary Office. So think of it as like the CFO of Hong Kong Oasis basically reports directly to the CFO of Hong Kong, this department. And what they're doing is trying to attract strategic enterprises into Hong Kong. It's more like bringing like tech companies. So there are a couple areas they're looking for: life science, advanced manufacturing, AI, and fintech. So Polkadot would be under the fintech category. So far, there's no other blockchains that's under this Oasis Enterprises group. So in the past year or so, we have developed a very good relationship with a lot of people, with Cyberport. We also helped with the PBA that was hosted in Hong Kong roughly around a year and a half ago. Earlier this year in February, Gav came to Hong Kong, so we basically organized that with the Jam Tour with Hong Kong with Cyberport as well. So Cyberport, for those who's not aware, they're the government's startup and incubation department. And Oasis is so back to Oasis. So there are currently around 84 companies under this Oasis Enterprise group, and most of these enterprises are the largest companies in the world. So Lenovo, Huawei, Ant Finance, JD, Jingdong, which is like basically the Amazon of China. They're all in this Oasis Enterprise. So for what's the implication here? For Polkadot to be a part of this Oasis Enterprise, first, we'll get direct support from the government when it comes to maybe sort of different grants, potential like BD support. And once you're in this Oasis Enterprise group, then we would all be able to connect, collaborate with any other companies that's already in the group. So it's very good for BD, and you're getting direct access to these world-class companies. So you're rather than sending cold emails, you're basically, hey, this is Polkadot. They're also a part of this Oasis Enterprise, and meet these other largest companies in China and Hong Kong. So it's going to be very important for Polkadot. Hong Kong is a very right market right now when it comes to crypto regime. The government is quite open there. So there's a lot of like, VASP, virtual asset. I forgot what it stands for, but and there's also like a stablecoin bill that's about to be announced very soon. So when it comes to like Web3 adoption in Hong Kong, a lot of things are happening. So I think it's very pivotal for Polkadot to be under this enterprise, to be a part of it. So that's why the funding is used to set up this account. So maybe a bit more context. We actually wanted to set this up like half a year ago, but then it was very difficult to convince the government to sign with Polkadot when it doesn't really have an entity behind it. I mean, the foundation is great, there's parity, but they're not directly related to Polkadot. They funded the initial implementation of Polkadot, but they're not the owners of Polkadot. So, setting this PCF up will be very important, for, when the government needs to sign with someone else, that would come from the PCF. And Singapore, this has happened in Singapore already, by the way. So for the Polkadot app, I think that was an initiative to help set up the Polkadot app as well. And so that's like another entity that's already been created before already. So Polkadot, so Hong Kong would just be like one of those subsidiaries under the PCF. Yeah, that's basically it.
Okay. All right, Angie, jumping right in. Let's go.
Great. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Great. I have two questions. One is, why haven't other blockchain protocols joined? And two is, does this have any kind of trade association, or I guess what would be the equivalent to trade association ability in terms of policy making, or is it mostly about business?
So, good question. Number one, the reason is because the government doesn't just work with random crypto companies, because for obvious reasons. That's why in the past 2 years, even back in my parity days, I have lobbied, trying to set up these events in Hong Kong to build exposure in Hong Kong. So I actually was the person that put together the first Polkadot conference in Hong Kong. This was the back in end of 2023. And that was like when Polkadot was officially in Hong Kong, because I'm from Hong Kong, but I was surprised that nobody really knew much about Polkadot. So I basically set up the initiative, and after that we had a bunch of other stuff as well. And by doing that, invited government officials to speak at these events, and there was more exposure, publicity. I know there's PBA, working with the government, and then there was Gav came to Hong Kong as well. Again, shook hands with the government. So that actually gave us a lot of credibility, and so we have a great relationship with them. So I think that's the reason why no blockchains are there yet. But I can't say there's not going to be any like new blockchains in the future that's going to be under it. But so far, there aren't any blockchains there. And for the second question, so I would say it's both. The government setting this, setting up Oasis and having like enterprises join this Oasis group. Sure, it's good for business as well. But I think policy making is also something that's there. Because I had a meeting with the government officials last week, and one of the key points they talked about was, would Polkadot be able to provide insights into virtual assets, digital assets, and that sort of like like frameworks and stuff. So that's something that is definitely needed for Polkadot. Once we get in, and being a part of this organization will give us a lot of exposure and direct conversations with policymakers.
Okay, we're actually at time now, so I'm gonna have to move on. But it'd be nice to have you guys back, because I have some questions about this as well. Looks like we had two other hands up, but interesting opportunity. I'm looking forward to hearing more. Let's see if we can get more than one vote on this. I'm sure we will by next week, and we'll know where we stand. But nice to have you guys back on the show. Hey, Robert, are you still there? Because I think we can squeeze you in before you go. Yo.
Yeah, we're still there.
All right. Let's just jump to you. 1667 Merkle Mountain Belt. This big space pay structure. 22.2% in favor halfway through the decision period. Just trustless core on the I side right now. And yeah, Kustot delegate waiting to learn more. What's going on?
Cool. Yeah, thanks for squeezing us in before our other call.
Yeah, good.
So the updates and updates. Yeah, so we've got trustless core on the I side, World and Jam implementers and Chaos on the name side, although we know from discussing with them that Jam implementers are currently actually at a stain.
So we'll keep in conversation with them. We're planning to make comments over there, and I think we can find a solution to their concerns. Then the updates that we wanted to give, because these came up both in the comment with the Jam implementers and then with Polkadot before, is that they think, in their view, the dots, the last milestone there is a bonus on our rates, and it's in the full proposal it's spelled out as this is part of our upfront rates that we're referring here. So this works more like a deferred consideration, as you would see in mergers and acquisitions transactions, in B2B transactions. So this is definitely not a bonus. It's quite the opposite. It is us putting risk that we take part of our upfront cost and we say, look, we're like confident that this will deliver the cost savings that we're calculating over there, that we're willing to make it contingent onto that. Yeah, so it's actually a risk reduction rather than a bonus for us. We had some other comments there from the Jam implementers about the risk of lower gas, like that the gas cost on Ethereum will fall their view like anyway. And we'd be happy to see the gas cost, so that, and the claim is then that there's no need for having optimizations on this on Polkadot itself. We actually think like lower gas cost on Ethereum overall would be good for Polkadot, because that means the number of transactions goes up, as you can see, between L2 and L1s on Ethereum. And the other part is that having MMB instead of MMR here gives Polkadot a competitive advantage, because the gas cost reduction makes other L2s or other solutions competing with Polkadot more attractive there. And then, of course, there are all these other benefits to MMP for Jam, for XCMP, and it looks like we can do the same with Sigma Shield. I think that's an update on that front. And then Alfonso's written a nice blog post, because we've gotten some feedback, especially in Cool Style, that MMD is too complicated to understand. And we agree that like our protocol here is complicated, and this seems to be the reason why lots of voters are looking for technical authority to comment on this. Although I will note that all the technical institutions were Tree Foundation by Alistair, the Jam implementers, all the bridge teams, so Parity, Hyperbridge, and Snowbridge have commented in one form or another on the past proposal or the current one, that they support tech and that as well. Techie supported, just not the success reward that we had in the prior one, which is gone now. So I think it's technically better than that front, but still to make voters easier, make it easier for voters to like understand what this structure does. Alfonso's written a nice blog post about this. I think I'll hand over to Alfonso for this.
I can comment on that. So yeah, I was invited to give a presentation in AAG in Spanish last week. So I took the challenge to make it much simpler, and I appreciate the challenge. I think, yeah, as Robert said, even though it's true that we have the support of technical people, it's still true that we were not making a good job in making it clear for uninitiated people, let's say. So I took that presentation that I gave in AAG in Spanish and I converted it into a blog post. So yeah, I hope that now it's going to be much clearer. I think it's looking good, so we will be happy to have any feedback from you guys. So you can find it. We just uploaded on the very first line of our proposal. You can find it there. Yeah.
Drop the link here in the chat as well.
Okay.
Here's the link to it. Yeah.
Okay. So you want to open it up for some comments?
Yeah.
Yes, please.
We have 3 minutes left. Does anybody have anything they'd like to ask or anything they'd like to bring up here? I can tell you that I've been... Yeah, go ahead, Florentina.
Sorry, me again. Yeah, like Alfonso said, Alfonso came twice to AAG in Spanish. The first time he explained to us, but we still would have wanted it to be even more, less technical, let's say. And then he came back with a much less technical version of it, which was very, very clear. The video is available in Spanish, but this new blog post, Alfonso sent it to me like a couple hours ago, I was just looking at it, and I think that a lot of people would enjoy it, reading this as an explanation of why this proposal is so important. So I just wanted to mention that.
All right, thanks very much. I was doing some investigations this week, and I heard from some people close to the Polkadot protocol. They're saying something like, this really has an impact once transaction volumes and activity is way, way up. And they were kind of saying maybe it doesn't make sense to pay for it now. Maybe it's something that would really pay off in the future. What would you say to that?
Yeah, that's a good point, and go ahead, Alfonso.
Right, so it's a good point. I would say there's a lot of risk. Things could go, the volume could go down, the volume could go up. What I would say is that if the volume doesn't pick up, then Polkadot is really in trouble, because we are supposed to be, the whole network is supposed to have a focus on interoperability. So yeah, we would be in trouble. And I think whether or not this proposal passed or not would be the least of our troubles. So we just have to bet big, I would say, and I would say the time is now precisely to invest in reducing costs, so that when we 10x, in terms of volume from now in a couple of years, we have a sustainable infrastructure to make things cheaper the way they're supposed to be. Yeah.
Okay, so go ahead, Robert.
Sorry, I just want to add some things to that. Yes, so one side is the bridges, and I think they were actually already seeing this increase. I looked at the hyper bridges volume incidentally today, and that's currently at 350 overall transactions a day on there, which is quite an increase over what they had initially. So I think the time is coming there. And yes, we're definitely building for the future here, but the earlier that Polkadot is cheaper than other alternatives, it just has what you call it, a domino effect that others start choosing Polkadot over other solutions. And the other thing I'll add to it is that bridges are by far not the only solution that for Polkadot that benefits from MMB. Again, the gray paper already mentions MMB there to build into the protocol. So the earlier we can deliver with that, the earlier the Jam builders can rely on that in their building. Yeah, as I mentioned before, otherwise XMP, Kusama Shield are other applications where this works. But for sure, it's needed for Jam. And the earlier we get into the roadmap, the better. And then, of course, sorry, the last thing on this, the earlier we get it in terms of academic impact it can have, the better. Because it means that, say we do this now instead of in 2 years, it means that there are 2 more years for ourselves and other researchers to expand on what MMBs can do.
All right, thanks very much. That's time. Good luck with your meeting, guys. Thank you for coming back. We'll check on this next week. What are we at here? 22.2% in favor. Still 2 weeks left of the decision period, though. So lots of time here. Let's check on that next week. Moving on to Ref 1662, UX Bounty Q3 2025 refill proposal, 67,085 DOT, sitting at 55.2%, nearly 2/3 of the way through the decision period. Where are you, Alex? What's going on, dude?
Hey Jay, thanks for having me. Hello everyone. Today no real presentation. I did 2 presentations the last 2 weeks. And we didn't really have a chance to discuss about anything. So right now I'm more okay, no presentation. Rather if you guys have already hot question for me right now. If not, I can already talk about a few things.
Well, looking at the vote here, you have a lot of support from DVs. Clarys DAO, Hungarian, Polkaworld, Jam implementers, all on the I side. Chaos DAO is on the nay side, but also Trustless Core. What's the conversation with Trustless Core like?
So we had a async conversation on Telegram. They asked us some questions that we responded. For now, we didn't have the follow-up on those ones. So we are waiting for that. We are going to pass as well on AAG Spanish tomorrow. So hopefully we will be able to dive deeper on those feedback. Yes. Yep.
Okay. And any contact with? Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was asking in the audience if there was anyone that had some questions or anything.
Maybe you could just say, what are the arguments against that trustless
Yes,
score? The chaos guy
I
was
was
giving.
waiting for that.
Yeah.
So the three main concerns that at least I was able to grab from some people from Chaos DAO, where first one was that the project and operational costs and the percentage was a bit off from our last spending. That tied to this, the curator pie, or like the number of, like the total amount of money the curator is taking off the pie is as well too big. And then the third concern was that Braille is now a curator, while at first, so a year ago, we were outside of the curator. So to respond to the two first thing, so project ops, cost, and then the curator pie, it's as well very, like, you have to understand that a percentage can be very subjective if you don't pull the full amount tied to it. So far, the UX bounty in a year, we've spent $164,000, and most of it, and it's a fact, most of it went in operation costs, and as well tied to that with the curators. We still had a lot coming in the project, right? It's about like 40% in the project, but still, like, curator are as well working on those projects. And what I'm trying to say here is, like, out of those 164K, there was a lot of value in bringing the foundation and making sure that the UX bounty is an integrated team in the ecosystem, right? It requires a lot of energy and time to be able to work with Web3 Foundation, Parity, Papermoon, Velocity Lab, to make sure that really what we are trying to do is not just something that we ship and then nobody is using it, right? So for us, it makes much more sense to first do the full work of, like, getting the stakeholder in the room, and then making sure that as an ecosystem level, we are going into this direction rather than just going on our own, build it, and, like, ship it with some execution, but then there is no implementation. So that's as well the challenge that we are having. So obviously there is some overhead on that. Another thing that we haven't do too much is giving grants, like, literally, because they are, like, it's very hard to find new talent in the ecosystem that are going to lead some issues that we are trying to fix. To give an example, for the UX audit program, we've contacted 10 agencies in the industry, like super renowned agency working in Solana, EVM ecosystems. And out of those 10, only one went through the full process to kind of, like, get used to enter in the Polkadot ecosystem. And that one, at the end, when we asked them for the quote for an audit, they came back to us with a daily rate for UX designer of $1,200, which is way above what we have as an industry, right? I'm going to stop because there is a question, so please do so.
Yeah, go ahead, Lorena.
Yes, related with that, if you are a few curator, how you can start working in a different way or improve the task if you don't have people. For me, this is the main concern, okay, how you can perform the objective of the UX bounty. Tomorrow we can discuss in Spanish, but that is, for me, is a very good point, because there are a lot of things that should be improved, as we discussed UX in assembly and different things, but we don't have curators for that. So how can you perform the task if you don't have people?
That's a very good point, and most of the people that have the skills and capacity as well, because it's a subject here, are, or some of them are curator. So it's very hard to find the right balance between having a great talent that can help us on this mission and not being a curator, you know? Like, there are, as you mentioned, Polka Assembly or Subsquare, those are platforms that they have the monopoly of the UX for the governance, right? So we have to work with those teams. We are not going to create a different platform next to it just to resolve one pain point. Instead, what we need to do is coordinate with them, work with them, and to understand how can we help them better. So that's what we did with the UX audit, you know, for example.
All right, thank you very much. Anything else we want to say before we move on? Then we're good.
Nothing else. I will come back next week as well for a conclusion because that will be the last week, but that's all.
All right, perfect. Thanks very much.
Thank you,
That
Jay.
concludes
Thank you,
our.
everyone.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. That concludes our presentations today. Unless there's anybody else on the panel who needs to present something. Going once, going twice, and we're going to take a quick look at other refs that we've seen previously on the show. We were going to have the
Well, oh, no, sorry, but while you're looking, I had very little time, but I'm still here. If anyone still has questions, maybe if we can add this or
next week.
Okay.
We were gonna have the guys from BD Hub on the show, but they had to do some one-on-one meetings this week. They had some heavy nay votes come in, and they're sitting at 27.7% in favor, about 2/3 of the way through their decision period. Pixel Proof V2, this is doing a little bit better than it was previously. Now at 41% in favor, which is pretty good. That's a good trend for them, almost halfway through. Alice and Bob, we're about to finish the decision period here for the hiring ecosystem talent lead. 40% looks like we're going to settle here. Did you want to tell us anything about your next steps for this one? Are we picking the microphone?
Okay, we're picking a different microphone.
Yeah, okay.
We'll regroup, we'll look at the situation. If it doesn't pass, one idea is to put it into a project. So I think the job market is still a very valid idea. I had a lot of different teams reaching out with what they're building right now. Of course, like advertising the ideas. I think we need a job market. I know from different, I keep saying this, but there is people just constantly mentioning that they need people.
Yeah, we just heard it.
So it is a constant thing that is ongoing. So it is a problem that needs to be solved, and it's also about acquiring institutional knowledge, right? So similar to how we need to acquire some institutional knowledge about how to do UX and to have a network of UX people that can actually help. It's the same for getting the right people. And I think one thing that we always should keep in mind is what if our ecosystem grows 10x, because we want that to happen. And so we need to lay the rails for this actually be able to happen. And for that, we need to have the rails for how do we get the right people in, how do we connect them with projects, and how do we create great user experiences, and how do we provide marketing and legal support and so on. So we should be open for a future where Polkadot grows 10x in size in terms of people, projects, and all the other relevant metrics.
All right, so we'll look forward to your the next evolution of that one. Bill's request to set up the Polkadot Agents program, still 100% in support of this. And yeah, that's going to be pretty cool. We talk more about that on the Space Monkeys interview with Bill, which is going to come out this Sunday. Rewards program for the Inter Miami app, struggling still, just under 12% in favor for this one, halfway through the decision period. Going to be interesting to see if they can turn this around and take advantage of a big piece of the Inter Miami funding. But right now, it doesn't look like the voters want to support this $250,000 proposal to fund rewards in that app. Finally, Polkadot.law by Wario. We had him on the show a few weeks ago. The 50,000 USDC for that, also struggling under 20% for the third of the way through the decision period. Doesn't look like a lot of momentum to change direction yet, but of course anything can happen. And before we take a look at the confirming refs this week, just want to open it up to see if anybody has anything they wanted to talk about that we didn't touch on today. Taking a look at the board here. Yeah, actually, we did touch on all the new stuff on the board here, so that's interesting. But yeah, anything we want to talk about? Angie, should we see how your connection's going?
Okay, we'll try again. Can you hear me?
Yeah, let's have an update on where you were, who you're with.
Perfect. So Christie's Art and Tech Summit happens every year. I've been involved the last few years. John Linden was chosen as the head of gaming this year. And Kathy Wood and Frank McCourt were co-hosts this year, which was exciting. And so I put together kind of a, it's always good to know, I think, for all of us to ask, what is an investor's mandate? And for ARK Invest, they have public market funds. So people probably saw the news this week around Tom Lee's fund, the Ethereum, Bitmine, basically a public company that has now built an Ethereum treasury run by Tom Lee. That's a publicly traded stock that the fund can invest in. From the venture perspective for ARK, they can invest in equity. And so Mythical is a large position for them, and one which they have increased conviction, and they can look at other projects that are built on Polkadot. So for the venture fund, the crypto fund is much smaller and it's newer. That one will have the ability to invest in tokens, but we really wanted to get the best projects together. With Mythical in the lead in terms of setting the mind share about Polkadot. And obviously I'm an advisor. And so we got Frequency and Energy Web, and Ed Hess was just an incredible addition. So yeah, it was a great dinner. And we had 3 or 4 people from the ARK team.
Wow, that's amazing. Okay, so you mentioned there that they have a position in Mythical, but on the company side, not on the token side.
Correct. In the venture fund, which is the equity.
Cool, but
they invest in equity. Yeah.
Okay, but they're open to doing some tokens in the new fund.
They just started a new fund, yes, which will be open for tokens.
That's pretty cool. Wow. I mean, that table looked amazing. So congrats on bringing all those people together. I know you've been working on this for a long time.
Yeah, the next day, John Linden and Frank McCourt were actually on stage together, which was exciting. I feel like there's something that we should all lean into, is this idea that Polkadot or Mythical really dominates gaming in crypto broadly, and Frequency dominates social media in crypto broadly. So those are two, I think, that are very complementary.
Amazing. Cool. Thanks for the update, Angie. Thanks for all your work. We'll take a quick look at the confirming refs now. Actually just approved Paraspell. Paraspell with 97.6% in favor. They're doing it right, and they're sailing through confirmation periods with a nice green bar. Good for Dudo and anybody working with him or using the product. Then we have 2 confirming refs that are a little more precarious. This is OneBlock's 2025 Developer Education and Community Expansion Plan, 376,000 USDT in confirmation on a shaky 53.7% in favor. So this, what do we see here? 3 days remaining there. They're not quite in sudden death. If they do get knocked out, they have a day to bring it back. But we will know the outcome of that next week. And then Cyborg Network, who we never saw on the show, but they have worked with the DAO before. They're in confirmation at 136.78 thousand USDC. They're in confirmation period with 53.8% in favor here. So less than 4 million votes split there. Could go either way, but we will know the outcome of that by this time next week as well. Okay, that's the short and sweet show today. Thanks everybody for being a part of it. Hopefully we have some familiar faces back and in good health next week. But it was nice to have everybody who came on today. Very informative session. Like I said, Bill Laboon on Space Monkeys this Sunday should be pretty great, but not before the Friday.News pump tomorrow. Definitely a lot of people enjoying that show, and we love bringing it to you. Production has already started, so look out for that very soon. Have a great weekend, everybody, and we'll see you on Monday for AAG Kusama. Have a great one.